adopted and co-opted by the far right. In my mom's generation, it was keep Britain white and being chased down the street, being called a monkey. In my generation, it was a National Front telling me to go home. And now you've got the EDL, BNP, and all these other groups, right? And to be fair, if the same people who are hurling out all this abuse are waving this flag, have it tattooed on their chest, then what else could it possibly be?
Well, because, let me throw something back at you. When I grew up, I remember massive street parties for the Queen's, anniversaries, for example, Silver Jubilee and so on, where everyone would bring out their St George's flag with great pride about their country. So it's had a double meaning. It may have been misappropriated by people who have nefarious reasons to do so. But fundamentally, it remains the flag of this country.
If I see that flag on a pub and I'm going, and it's not the football time, that means no go. That means no go today is the same way it did 10 years ago.
All right,
in many ways, it's like the Confederate flag. It's like, that's our version.
Well, it's an interesting comparison, except that Nigel Farage, the problem with this is St George is our patron saint. I mean, he is the English patron saint.
We've been through all this before. Back in the 1970s, you'll remember that the National Front adopted the Union Jack as their symbol. And everybody said, we mustn't fly the Union Jack, it's a symbol of racism. And actually, collectively, people said, two fingers up to that, we are going to fly the flag, we will take it back for ourselves. And you know what? The Union Jack is now a global symbol. You see kids in America wearing T-shirts with Union Jacks on it. It's exactly the same with this flag. If there is a feeling in some communities, and you say that, and I'm not disbelieving you, but if there is that feeling, well, let's claim it back. I mean, look, I'm wearing those today. Nothing wrong with that, is there?
What do you mean? The fact that St George isn't even English, Nigel.
Yeah, I know.
He was born in Greece.
Apparently never even came to England.
But it's
in
a symbol,
part that is now part of Turkey.
Nigel Farage, why? It's a great question for you. Why would you want a foreigner who's never been near,
I didn't choose
never
it.
Been
I didn't choose it. I was just born into this.
Why is St George your hero?
Well, he is a symbol, isn't he, of standing up.
He's Turkish.
Defending right.
Turkish.
Well, there are good people from all over the world.
During the referendum,
Roman soldier
Jesus wasn't English, and I still go to church, all right?
During the referendum, you warned us about people coming from Turkey. But St George is your hero.
I warned about millions coming from Turkey, but not...
But it was just the one, just the one you wanted.
I think that's the problem as well. This flag has been used by the right and also by people like Nigel to push an image of Englishness which is exclusive. There's a reason why the vast majority of ethnic minorities in this country would never call themselves English.
This is
but in Scotland, the vast majority would call themselves Scottish. I don't think it's changed as much as you think.
About flags and appropriation and extremism. Just think what's been done in the name of Irish nationalism. Some pretty awful things over the course of the last, 30 years of troubles. And yet, that doesn't stop people on St Patrick's Day using the Irish flag. And we've got to adopt exactly the same argument.
You can't do exactly the same because we're talking about literally hundreds of years of history of Englishness, even go back to the Crusades.
But how
this
should
flag has been used.
There will be English people watching this in their droves, and I've already seen the comments, who feel very angry about this. They believe this is the flag of England and it should be celebrated. And if a few idiots are misusing it, and I don't doubt, by the way, at all what you're saying, I've seen it and I know you're right. But that doesn't mean that most people actually don't use it for the right reason. Why should they have to surrender?
Can it be taken
the flag
back?
Of it?
No.
Well,
can it be taken back?
It's not about. Is it about?
Let me give it a different phrase. Why should they have to give up their flag as they see it?
What we have to
simply for a few idiots.
It's not just it's not just a few idiots. This is far more widespread than just a few idiots, and it doesn't impact on a daily basis. This flag. Two, I think you have to understand what Englishness is, and we have to have a proper conversation.
What do you think it is?
Well, there's some good parts, but there's also some very bad parts, right? If you look at colonialism, look at slavery, look at these things, and you can't just say, well, let's wrap up the flag and say it's all great. There's a reason why the far right picked this flag, and it's not.
And what do you think
very
that
comfortable discussions because actually, for a lot of people in England, being English is being white. And that's why someone like me would never say I'm English.
Same arguments.
Because we feel cut out of it.
We had the same arguments over the Union Jack 40 years ago when we were told not to. I remember at school being told, don't display that flag, it's awful. And actually, we've won that battle.
We haven't?
Nigel,
big time.
No, but Nigel, let me ask you, this raises another interesting point. Let's turn to the Windrush scandal, OK? Here you have a lot of black people from the Caribbean who were brought here in the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Now being told they're
not
English.
Now being told, actually, they're not English.
It's an administrative...
Doesn't matter how many flags they wave. But part of the problem...
It's a huge admin cock-up.
Or is it institutionally racist?
No, of course it's not.
It's not, really?
Of course not. Sure? We've got millions of people have settled in this country. We've got a few thousand... We don't know yet, but a few thousand cases here. This is a pure administrative error. And frankly,
But it was driven
whether
by,
it happened...
But it was driven by a philosophy of creating a hostile environment
Well, was it?
for illegal immigration.
Well, actually,
No,
the cards were destroyed in 2009
That's not the
when a
problem.
Labour
No,
government...
I
That's
don't
not the
dispute
problem.
that.
All right,
I'm not
so-
actually saying it's a Tory problem, but there's no doubt that when Theresa May became Home Secretary, she doubled, trebled, quadrupled down on this and ran a very, very tough, hard line with the van saying go home.
I remember.
And so on.
The Conservatives were running
What did you
scared of
make of that,
UKIP.
though?
That's my
Should we
part
have
of the
vans
problem.
showing
Yeah.
around communities
No,
saying go home?
I actually said at the time, I think this is over the top and wrong. Of course, we want to stop illegal immigration, and we need to do a lot more. There's roughly 150 people a day still getting in lorries across, through the Channel Tunnel.
But
So there is
these-
work
But this
to
is
do.
the problem.
But the
This is the
Windrush
problem.
thing, the idea that this is some deliberate policy that's been against black people, frankly, is
Okay.
not.
No,
Dr.
because you
Andrews,
can't say
final
word
This
for
is-
you.
this
It's
is-
an admin
No, but
error.
this is the point. It's not an admin error. When you create this hostile environment, this is what happens. And I guarantee a lot of those people who have been deported or lost their jobs, they're probably feel the most English out of everybody.
Right.
Yes.
It didn't do them any good, did it? Because they've been
You know what?
all these
It's,
little-
Well, how many have been deported?
we don't know the numbers,
We
which is
don't know the
terrible,
numbers.
actually.
Well,
Which is
well,
actually-
well,
but
well,
this is not a
well,
new
you
thing.
can
This has
bet
been
your
happening
life-
for
you
years.
can bet your life
This
it's
has been
hardly
go-
any
No,
worse.
This has
but
been
Nigel,
going on for
sorry,
years.
sorry,
Will-
can I-
This has been going on
this
for
will be
years, and it is
sorted out.
a...
We will make America great again.